Hi, everyone. It's Ron Roos with the Kansas City chapter of the National Speakers Association. And right now, I am so happy to introduce you to my friend and our presenter for our May 8th workshop, Mike Ganino. Well, Mike, I truly am excited about your presentation coming up on May the 8th, and it's the actual title of it is Certified Original. Use your ideas, your story, and your presence to stand out as a speaker. Which, as I told you off camera, I struggle with storytelling. Before we get into your actual presentation, though, let me ask you, what led you down this path of wanting to speak about storytelling? How did you come to this journey?
When so in 2014 is when I first started like moving out into being a speaker. I was a restaurateur and I was an actor in Chicago. Those two things are pretty commonly go together.
Right.
So I ended up working in the restaurant industry because I was an actor and I couldn't pay my rent and free gigs. So I was in the restaurant industry. I was much more successful there than I was as an actor getting paid on stage. But I did some commercials and I did some stage work and some industrial work where you do like HR videos and
Right,
stuff like
right,
that
right,
and
right.
like,
Yeah, yeah.
that kind of thing. And I sold a restaurant company that I was a partner in 2014 and then said, "Okay, I think I want to move on to something new." And I started doing consulting for other groups that wanted to. I was kind of known as being the person who was really good at building a super branded company culture and building a great team that way. So I started doing consulting. And what I realized, Ron, as you know, because you've chased me down to make sure that I do all of this, is that I'm really bad. If I owe anyone anything, you're never going to get it. So I realized that as a consultant, I was going to go out of business because you have to turn in the deliverables.
Right,
And
right,
I was
right.
like, I love the work. I love talking. I love doing this. So I thought maybe I'll do workshops and I'll teach restaurants and retail people in workshops, like teach their leadership team or their managers. And so I started doing that and that was really great. And then someone said, "Hey, do you want to come keynote our conference, our association conference?" And she had seen me do a workshop and moved on to work for this association as their marketing director. And I was like, "Sure, yeah." She sent me an email and it said, "Here's the honorarium." And I thought, Ron, this is, all of these speakers who've been doing this a long time are going to think it's really funny. I thought I had to pay them the honorarium. I didn't realize that it was me who was being honored with the honorarium. So she sent it and it was like, it was a significant amount of money because she thought I was like a big expert because she'd seen me do these workshops. And because I was an actor for so long, I'm really comfortable in front of people. And she just, sent it over. And I thought, oh my gosh. And I was talking to my husband. And he's like, "I don't know. Why don't you look it up and see?" Because I thought it was one of those things where I had to pay them because they thought I was going to sell programs or something. And I was like, I don't have any books or programs to sell because I thought only famous authors were getting paid to speak. And so I looked up honorarium and I'll tell you, I almost like choked because I thought they're going to give me this amount of money. And at the time, I think it was probably like 3,500 bucks or something like that. It was, a good amount, but it wasn't some, $30,000 fee or something like that. And I thought they're going to give me money for this. And at first I thought for an hour of my time. And then I realized what a falsity that is because I probably made like $2 an hour when it came down to the amount of time I put together that talk and rehearsed it and made sure it was really ready to deliver. But that got me on the path to speaking. And then I was initially talking about culture and leadership, and that kind of led to
I
speaking
remember
about
that. Yeah.
culture in general. From restaurants to general audiences were hiring me. And in 2017, a company that I had keynoted for reached out and said, "Hey, we want to have you come back." And I thought, oh, that's cool because usually you don't get to come back the next year to keynote because
Yeah.
they heard you last year. But I thought maybe they had a lot of turnover. And she said, "No, no, no, we don't want you to speak." And I thought, well, you wouldn't be the first person who said, "I'm not going to pay you. I'll pay you to shut up." Right. I was that little actor kid growing up that many people said, "We'll pay you to shut up, Mike." And so what they wanted was for me to work with their executive team because they had really important messages to deliver, really
Right.
important things about the market and where they were going and a new division they were kind of moving into, a new industry. And what she said is that when you spoke, people remembered it for a year. They still talk about it. When our executives speak, nobody pays attention. And I can tell you, sure, certainly the things I said were helpful and important to them, but what their own leaders were saying is really going to be helpful to them, and it's going to help people succeed. It's going to
Right.
help people grow, get promoted, earn more, and take care of their families. And they don't listen, not because they're heathens, but because the message was wrong or it was delivered in the wrong way. So they hired me to work with all their executive team to work on their speeches for the upcoming
Right.
conference. And I really loved it. I really loved it. And I thought, ooh, this is this is firing me up more than the other stuff was. And so I officially kind of moved into, and my way of speaking was always really story based. Back when I was talking about leadership and culture, I talked about working with my grandma at the Pizza Hut when I was in high school. She was the manager and I was a server there. And I just always communicated in stories. And so that's what I taught them. And I just ran with it from then. And that's been, 4 years now. And I love it so much.
Well, and from your website, absolutely love this quote of yours. It says there are three types of stories: the ones we tell ourselves, the ones we share with our audiences, and the ones, and this is the one that just gets me, and the ones that our audiences remember. And it is so true, because most people, if you're talking in facts and figures, you're going to put people to sleep. When you're talking in terms of stories, it has a way of engaging and enticing and just drawing the audience into what it
Mm.
is that you're talking about, regardless of the topic. And I also love that you say that when you tell a good story, it's an energetic exchange that leaves the audience forever changed. Maybe they've learned something, maybe they're inspired, maybe you've shown them a new way of being that will stick with them forever. And that's what I'm looking forward to for your presentation that's coming up on the 8th. Can you talk a little bit about some of what are maybe like 2 or 3 of the key points that you plan on hitting on during your time with us?
Well, being the certified original, I think that's what we all want. And
Right.
and what I hear so often when I've worked with speakers is that they'll get there eventually. There's this thing
Yep.
that they really want to say, but they'll get there eventually because for right now they have to package up the 7 hacks of leadership or the 9 tips for social media or the 4 strategies for doing this. And eventually they'll say the thing they really want to say. What I think is you can shortcut it if we kind of go right to that first. And the big piece here is that this certified original framework, I started watching what was working, what made the big speakers, the Simon Sinek's and the Brene Browns and the Mel Robbins, and even people in our industry who have really busy careers, Neen
Right.
James, uh, folks like
One of my
that.
favorites, by the way, Neen James.
And she's such an original, you don't
Yes, she is.
ever
Yes, she
confuse
is.
her. And I started really diving deep into what does that take to stand out? Because when I first was a speaker, I thought I had to do it too, like put on the suit that, I look professional. The photos on my website where the hair slicked over and the glasses, and it was like I'd look like a 20-year-old trying to look like a 40-year-old at the time. Now I'm 40, so I wish I'd look like a 20-year-old. And what was really interesting in all of the things that I noticed was over and over, it was not the smartest people in the room. It wasn't the people with the best-selling books. It wasn't the best-selling books came from them being certified originals. It was the people who could take their expertise, match it up with their experiences and interesting stories,
Right.
and also really think about their presence and how they showed up. And when you can do all three of those, you have a lifelong career. I mean, you can keep working and working, and what the audience needs from you will shift and change, but you don't become known as the 7 hacks guy. You become known as a certified original, and we come back to you as an original source of inspiration, an original source of ideas from the well. And you see that over and over. I mean, look at people even like Rachel Ray. She used to teach like classes at like a fancy, Whole Foods
Right.
type store. And then she became the 30-minute meals person. And now we buy dog food from her. She has a music festival every year. Because she was a certified original. And I think that if more speakers realized they don't have to be anybody else, that we don't have to put on the suit that doesn't
Right.
match us, we don't have to slick over our hair. And there's value in sharing our experiences with an audience. And it's the best way to share our expertise. And when we figure out how to do that as the most fully self-expressed version of ourselves, the ticket is endless. And what we have to say matters. And there are people ready to hear it and ready to take action because of what we know and what we've been through. And so that's what I'm excited about sharing with everyone at the Kansas City chapter. And really hopefully giving folks some new ideas to take back to their work, whether that's in how they're branding themselves or how they're messaging on stage, how they're sharing their stories, how they
Absolutely.
package their expertise. I think when we go back to those three buckets, it's really limitless what we can create.
And I could sit here, I could just keep milking you for all this information, but I don't want to give away too much before the 8th of May when you're going to actually be presenting. So for folks that may not be familiar with you, Mike, which they all should be by now, the world should all know about Mike Ganino. But I know you have a book. What's the name of your book?
So I wrote this back in the culture days, Company Culture for Dummies. I wrote the Dummies
Okay.
book on company culture.
Okay, so they can go find your book if they want to research you a little bit more before your presentation. You have a wonderful website, mikeganino.com, which I've gone through, and I want a website that is as cool as yours. I love all the content that you have there. What other ways may they kind of learn a little bit more about Mike? Is there other avenues that they might take?
Yeah, you can go to the website, mikeganino.com. If you put /storycraft, there's this little guide on the 5 stories I think we need to be able to tell and how to tell them. I've got a podcast called the Mic Drop Moment, where I've interviewed some really fun people, voice coaches, authors, acting coaches, all kinds of people about how we can show up more as ourselves on stage.
Right.
And I love the socials. So I'm Mike Ganino everywhere. Once you figure out how to spell Ganino, you can find me on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, whatever else comes up next. I'll probably be there too.
You're a TikToker? TikToker?
I'm more of a voyeur, but I think I have like 20 or 30 videos on it.
Really?
I haven't.
You're a brave man. I've not been down that road yet. So
it's probably better for everyone's sanity to avoid it. But it was fun while I was in there.
All right. So for those of you watching, if you've loved this, wait until Saturday, May the 8th. Our presentation, doors open at 8:30 in the morning Central, which for Mike, that's going to be crazy because that's 6:30 his time. So 8:30 in the morning Central, hopefully getting Mike on stage virtually by about 8:45. And I'm telling you, this is going to be one fantastic workshop with Mike Ganino. So Mike, thank you so very much of giving of your time today. For those of you also, if you want to attend, look for the registration link below this video. It's real easy. If you're an NSA member, yes, if you're an NSA member, it's free. If you're not, it's only $25. So just go ahead and get registered today. Hold your virtual seat because this is going to be one great workshop. So Mike, one more time, thank you so much. For everyone else, thank you. And we will see you on Saturday, May the 8th. Bye, everybody.
See you there, bright and early.